Hello everybody, Evan Nathaniel Grimm here. Today I'm going to be walking you through the Gemini Full Moon happening December 7th at 8:08 p.m. Pacific Time. Before I get into it though, track where 16 degrees of Gemini is in your birth chart. That's where you are illuminating something, highlighting something, accenting something, or bringing it to completion or fruition. And we are in Sagittarius season, so naturally the Gemini Full Moon is opposite the Sagittarius Sun. And we are highlighting Sag and Gemini. And what is Sag all about? It's about discovery and perspective. Gemini, on the other hand, is a bit more about information, curiosity, and knowledge. We're talking about the difference between, in a lot of ways, knowledge and wisdom. And I've decided to call this full moon Pick Your Battles. This is really the time to pick your battles. The reason is because we have had Mars in Gemini since August. So since August 20th, I believe, Mars has been in Gemini. Ever since then, we have entertained any and all ideas or opinions. We've developed an insatiable appetite for knowledge and have become keen to play devil's advocate as well. Gemini is very good at prompting people to consider a different perspective, to argue, to offer the opinion and say, well, maybe this doesn't make sense. Maybe the other side is correct. So we have constantly tested our own and other people's hypotheses over the last few months, and this has made for some compelling debates, but also some frustrating encounters, as I'm sure you're aware of. Maybe you and a friend or a family member or a partner have gotten into a bit of a skirmish at some point during this transit. But now that Mars is retrograde ever since around Halloween, we have been rethinking our strategies. And the full moon, in this case, is actually conjunct to Gemini, that Gemini Mars, at 16 degrees of Gemini. So it's basically going to be highlighting the following questions. How can I move ahead without burning all of my energy because of Mars retrograde? What ideas are even worth pursuing? What arguments can I live without? And where do I need to check my impulses? So anytime we have a full moon, our emotions are heightened, and we are feeling generally a little bit more sensitive maybe to the feelings that we are experiencing. The thing is, with this conjunction to Mars, it can get kind of unwieldy. It can get a little bit too extreme. And so in Gemini, though, it's sort of these extremities of ideas and opinions, of wanting to push your opinion onto somebody at all costs. That's going to be the feeling around December 7th, and really the day before and after as well, because that Gemini moon is going to the moon is going to enter Gemini on Tuesday and stay in Gemini all the way through Thursday. So really in the middle chunk of that week, you're going to probably feel like arguing with people. You're going to feel like you can't tolerate staying silent. Mars Gemini likes to interrupt people, likes to jump into the debate, likes to offer its opinion, and that can be very good for, correcting somebody. Gemini is concerned with the facts. But I think in this case, it's a little bit more about provocation. A lot of people are going to be testing each other just for the sake of it. And as someone with Mars Gemini in my own chart and a Mercury and Sag, throughout my life, and my Mars is retrograde, by the way, throughout my life, I've had to figure out when do I pick my battle and when do I hold back? When do I jump in? And with Mars Gemini, it's very hard not to interrupt somebody. It's very hard not to jump in. But over time, I've had to learn how to basically check my impulses. And, Mars Gemini is not always that good at listening to people either, because Mars is really motivation and immediate needs. So it's this idea of you need to really jump into this now and just force your opinion onto somebody just to get the point across. And again, sometimes there's a need for that. Sometimes people have to weigh in and jump in. But I think with this full moon, it's a little bit overemphasized. This need to be right. This need to win the argument. But during Mars retrograde, if you try to take on everybody's opinions and counterbalance them, then you're not going to win anything. You're just going to be burned out. So this is a high risk of a burnout situation. So you really have to make sure that you are only chasing down these debates that actually might impact your life in the long term. Now the good news is that Mercury, which is ruling this Gemini full moon, Mercury is in Capricorn, and that's quite a bit different. That forms an inconjunct relationship to Gemini, so there's really no connection between Capricorn and Gemini, but in this case I think that's a good thing, because Capricorn is a lot more steady, it's a lot more considerate of consequences because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which is a very karmic planet. It has boundaries. Capricorn is very organized. So Mercury in Capricorn here is kind of a nice buffer against this fiery Mars energy. And I don't care if Mars is in an air sign or a water sign. If you have a full moon conjunct Mars, there will be this theme of fire because Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, but it also rules Aries. So there's a theme here of passion, and in Gemini's case, of rushing into the debate. But luckily, Mercury here is giving us the tools to think about our long-term objectives and to organize the actual sort of the compartments of our mind and think about, okay, you know, if I get into this debate, how will it impact my long-term? And so I think, you know, Capricorn often pertains to business matters, corporate matters, questions of hierarchy and responsibility and who's doing what. So, you know, some of these debates you might be having are maybe about who is running this project, who's playing point on this part of the project. So don't be surprised if you're getting into debates at work with coworkers or about long-term objectives with people. Now, another feature of this full moon is that we do have a Venus square to Jupiter and kind of Neptune. Venus is in Sagittarius, which I actually find to be a very interesting Venus placement in this current day and age of 2022. The reason is because we live in a very globally connected world, and I think Venus in Sag is very good at reaching out for more relationships or considering other people's perspectives in a relationship, or attracting people who are well-traveled, or attracting people who are cosmopolitan, attracting people with new ideas. So squaring Jupiter, my question to you is, what relationship or relationships are you placing more faith in? Despite the naysayers, maybe. I like this. I think there's actually an interesting connection between the Mars Gemini and Venus square Jupiter, which is probably, or definitely, you're probably placing some faith in a relationship that other people have cast their doubts about. Like maybe, should you really propose to this person? Should you really be in a relationship with this person? Should you be friends with this person? So should you be entering into a business partnership with this person? Venus square Jupiter, even though it's a square, which denotes somewhat of an excess, these are benefic planets. They are very positive. And so in Sag and Pisces, we are talking about faith, really. So who are you placing your faith in, even though there may be some Mars Gemini antics going on and arguments against being with that person? But it doesn't have to be about relationships. Venus is our creativity. So maybe are you expanding your sense of creativity and wonder, you know? Or maybe even are you reaching out for more relationships? Maybe it's not about faith in an existing relationship, but it's faith and confidence that you deserve the best relationship possible. So this energy will especially be felt by people with major placements in mutable signs. So we're talking about Gemini, Sag, Virgo, and Pisces. And really anyone with major placements in mutable signs will feel the effects of this full moon, because now we have Mars in Gemini creating a hard angle to the mutable signs, Sag Sun, Sag Venus, Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces, all forming these hard aspects. And what exactly is mutable energy good for? Well, it's actually not that good for starting new situations. And we are at the end of the year, so theoretically a lot of people are winding things down. The mutable energy is better for making adjustments, adapting to new information, and really being open-minded, actually, in some ways. So this is a time to maybe, yes, entertain some of the arguments of other people, but at the same time, trust that there is a relationship here for you that's beneficial, that might work out, or maybe a creative project that will work for you. So all in all, I think that this full moon is a little bit testy, it's a little bit emotional, and it's a little bit overdone. It's a little overwrought. It's kind of, the full moon on Mars will always bring out these very over-the-top feelings. And Mars is very impulsive, so feeling like you have to act right away on what you feel, where there's no separation between your feelings and your actions. That's not a good idea. So my advice here is to generally pick your battles. Again, what arguments can you kind of live without and set aside? That's how you will do well with this full moon. And the full moon is illuminating maybe where you have overextended your energy and where you overextended yourself. So that's also a point of reflection. Now, I want to thank you for watching this. Before I go, though, if you want to get a window into 2023, go download my 2023 forecast videos for each zodiac sign through the link down below. You're not going to want to sleep on this. This is, these videos are very detailed. They go through every new and full moon next year and how it affects the house system for each sign. And it has markers for each month, so you can fast forward to the specific month if you wanted to look at, for example, your birthday month or something next year. So also I do readings. If you want to see me for an hour, check out my website. Also, that link is below. Also listen to my podcast. Continue to subscribe to my YouTube. Follow me on Instagram as well. I have a number of channels. But anyways, I hope that this was a useful guide for you today, and I hope you have a great full moon experience. Take care.